Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
That's right. Back on Listen Up alongside Ryan Renner, Phil Vicera. Hey, look, Ryan, today we're going to pick it up where we left off with KK Arnold. The next player on the list, Ice Brady. And Ryan, if you remember last season, we had some terrible news. We received terrible news. That was actually not quite a year ago. It was October 22. I still remember the headline fresh in my mind like it was yesterday. UConn freshman Ice Brady out for the season with dislocated patella. So now, fast forward to summer of 23. Thank goodness things are doing better. I think she's starting to practice now, and I think she's looking a lot better, looking to recover after that terrible injury that held her out all season. So again, she's looking better physically, and I think she has her mind ready for UConn Huskies women's basketball. I think that the conditioning, their conditioning programs are getting her more into shape, as well as all the other ladies on this team. And I think that the question is now, Ryan, I think it's safe to ask, will she be key with her being forward? Will she be key alongside Aaliyah Edwards? Because we talked about how they lost Dorka Juhas, such a big body down there in that paint. Now I'm seeing a lot of headlines coming on leading up to this episode today. And again, we turn to Ryan, right, for this answer. Will Ice Brady be the key for this UConn Huskies women's basketball team in 23-24 up front? And it's a big question. I can't wait to see what you had to say, because hey, there's a lot of people will look at you like, Ryan, you don't have a clue what you're talking about, but you have to face it, man, because that's been a question that we have talked about for a couple years now up front. So I don't know. Can Aaliyah Edwards do it all? I mean, Aaliyah Edwards is one of the best in the nation. We understand that. But at the same time, Ryan, man, you're going to tell me about a player that has yet played in a real game for the Huskies.
Yeah, well, most of those people talking about or saying that I don't know what I'm talking about are probably right most of the time. But uh, when it
Hey, when we
comes,
talk about your microphone, I don't know what I'm talking about.
no, nobody knows about that. But
Technical
uh,
difficulties, yeah.
yeah, I mean, 6'3" forward out of California, Ice Brady, like you said, got injured, missed the whole season last year. And it was really disappointing because I think a lot of us were really excited to see her play
Mm-hmm.
alongside Ayanna Patterson. I think those two coming off the bench, we already know what Ayanna was able to do last season, how good she was. So
Yeah.
I think Ice Brady would have had similar impact as Ayanna did for us last year. But I think the biggest question with Ice is obviously her health, and if she can stay healthy, how she's going to look in
Right.
summer workouts. I know Gino talked about how much work she did put in before the injury that she suffered in practice last October. So, I just hope she kind of looks similar to what she did last year, right before the season started when she did get injured. Because Gino talked about how much effort she was putting forth in practices, and Gino was confident that she's going to come back better than ever and have an impact for this team. But I'm not really so sure that Ice is really going to be the answer after Dorka left us to replace Dorka Juhas's role. I think that's probably more likely to be Ayanna Patterson, in my opinion, just given the impact that Ayanna did for us last year. I really like how Ayanna played, but I believe that the talent level is definitely there for Ice Brady to fill a role like that. And like I said, I just hope that she can stay healthy and have a really good summer workout and practice hard and prove to Gino that she can be one of those players that he can rely on throughout the whole entire season. Because there's obviously going to be a lot of players competing for minutes this season. So Ice needs to prove to Gino that she's talented enough to be one of those players and reliable enough to be one of those players coming off the bench or possibly getting a spot start if we have any injuries. But I think, obviously the talent level is obviously there for Ice Brady. Really, really talented player.
6'3" post player from San Diego. Again, she's 6'3". When you talk about, Ryan, what Gino said last season, and I'll read it to you to refresh your mind. Tell me what you think about how you approach. Again, it's tough because if you're a head coach, I think that you have to put a lot of thought into it. Not saying that Gino is new to this, but maybe kind of new territory considering how many recruits you have come up, freshmen, and then they missed their first year because of injury. So again, I don't know if he's ran into that too many times in years past where, all right, now you have to consider new player. How much playing time do we give her? That's my question to you. But at the same time, not only are you coming onto the court as a freshman, but off of a pretty serious injury. All right. So let me read you this. And I'll quote, Gino says, when that's taken away, regardless of how long they're out, to not be able to play is unfortunate. Ice has made so much progress since she's been here, and I'm really confident that when she does come back, she's going to be better and more impactful than she already has been, end quote. So look, as I say, Ryan, of course, I'm no doctor, you're no doctor, but, medically cleared, if that's the case, fine, great. But again, Ryan, if you're in his shoes, she's heating up, do you just go all out and, hey, start possibly, not really. I mean, we're probably jumping too far ahead of ourselves. Starting role, kind of, in other words, a lot of minutes, major minutes on the court, or hey, you just see what's going on, how she's playing, play it slowly, because she's a freshman, or because more or less because of that injury.
Yeah, I don't see Ice Brady being a starter at all this season unless we get
Okay.
a lot of injuries like we've seen in the past. But I do see her kind of having a similar role as, like I said, Ayanna Patterson did for us this past season with just hopefully, Ice is able to bring that fiery attitude off the bench, and she's ready to come in whenever Gino needs her to, and she can provide pretty big minutes off the bench when the players need to be rested, and keep the game close, or provide some type of impact while those starters are resting. But yeah, I mean, I think Ice can have a pretty big impact this season coming off the bench. Like I said, I don't think she can quite get to the starting role yet, but yeah, I mean, I think what separates Ice as well is she's technically a redshirt freshman because she wasn't able to play last season. But unlike KK, Cadence, and Ashlyn, who are all out of high school, Ice was able to practice with the team, and she is practicing again now. But she's been around the system for a whole year, and of course, I'm sure learned a lot from all the coaches and the players. So at least she has some kind of knowledge about how Gino wants things to be run. She has knowledge about the system, so I think she's in pretty good hands. But of course, now, like I said, it's all about her staying healthy and be able to put in that effort that Gino wants to see.
All right, moving on to comments, and then we will head on out for the day, Ryan. What to watch for in Huskies summer workouts? They came through very well again, so congratulations, Ryan. That's all you, right? That's all your hard work. Hey, let's start out with Alan Lee. It's been a while since we heard from Alan. Nice video, fellas. Hey, here it is. After the last 2 years, we should all know that this will be a dominant team regardless of injuries. Any team that can dominate with its best player out for a year is just flat out beastly. However, if we are healthy, oh my goodness, imagine starting games with a traditional lineup, 3 guards and 2 bigs, or 2 guards and 3 bigs. Then after a while, could be in the second quarter or starting the third, Gino rolls out the small lineup, Paige, Nika, Caroline, AZ, and Aaliyah. They will run teams out of the building. I think we all deserve to see that after all the troubles the past 2 years. This team is loaded for bear. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to discuss with you, Ryan. I mean, it's obvious, and I think it's very much it needs to be, no matter how many injuries you have, it needs to be a lot of hype. going into this program every single season, right? And that's just the way it is. Get used to it. I mean, for anyone that's not a Huskies fan, just get used to it. We already know this is women's basketball. Everyone is aware of that. So let's put that to the side. Second of all, even though you're talking, Ryan, about younger basketball players, and again, I might be wrong, I think that, I mean, this team here coming up, not only this year, but next year and down the road, it could possibly stat-wise and just how far you make it in March, it could be a lot better than what we've seen the last 4 or 5 years. And there's been some big names that have passed through this team.
Yeah, and especially because last year too, not to mention that they were missing their best player in Paige Beckers, but at times there was only 6 healthy players or 7 healthy players, and only had 1 or 2 players able to come off the bench, and we saw Aaliyah and Nika and a couple other players at times having to play all 40 minutes. So obviously that's not the ideal scenario Gino wants to be in, especially for this year. So hopefully we can have relatively the whole team healthy for hopefully the whole entire season if that's possible. But yeah, I think it's going to benefit the whole team to have a lot of depth, and I think there are minutes to be spread around for everybody, but it's going to be tough to get those minutes to obviously every single player. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting, and I believe Ice Brady can be one of those players that does have a lot of minutes going into this season.
How about our good friend Jason D'Amico? We hope that he's doing well. Amari DeBerry is a mystery to me. She has talent. In fact, she has a lot of natural abilities that, if cultivated correctly, would be an asset on any team. Some say she is lazy. Some say that the coaches don't like the way she practices. I don't know what the truth is, but if she is so bad and a bust, then why doesn't Gino just cut her and make room for someone else? Seems like a lot of trouble just to keep her around as a cheerleader, no? Great show, fellas. Peace.
Yeah, like I said, Amari DeBerry is a really interesting player, and she's another player who could possibly be in the starting lineup. She really is talented enough to play alongside Aaliyah Edwards with her height. We saw it come into play last year. She came in and got a couple blocks, and she really is a force down low, getting those rebounds. But I think it's more about the technique as well that she uses when she's down in the paint. And a lot of the times when I noticed about Amari, when she comes into the game, she kind of doesn't know what her place is on the court. So I think there's definitely a lot of things for Amari to work on in the off season, and if she can figure a couple of those things out, I think she can really be a valuable asset to the UConn Huskies. I'm really glad she stayed. I'm really glad she's on the team again this year, and I hope that the UConn and the coaches and Amari can figure some things out with one another and work together. And I think it really would benefit the whole entire team if Amari can be a starter for this team or coming off the bench and get more minutes, because I think she really does have what it takes. And obviously, she's a really gifted and talented player.
All right, Ryan, and time for one more. Let's go over to Mr. James said, good to see you back. Well, James, it's good to see you too. Bon Riley, Ryan, just a couple quick ones. Bon Riley, don't forget they are going. Can you actually hear me talking with the phone ringing?
Yeah.
All right. This is a Tuesday around 1:00, so I apologize, Ryan. I guess that means that it is still technically business hours. Bon Riley goes, don't forget they are going to Europe in August. So, Ryan, I wasn't aware of that. We'll have to definitely have an episode about that. Hopefully the media will cover that Europe trip very well, like they always cover everything else really well. One more, Ryan. Let's go over to how about David? David goes, nice preseason peak. I think Paige will be fire this season. Okay, now, Ryan, we're starting to get into some real Huskies talk. She's a senior, and I think she'll do everything she can to get the natty. You can bet that Aaliyah and Nika will be the other points of a UConn triangle offense. Interesting thing, UConn brought home both championships in 04 and 14. Could they do it the third time in 3 decades. I wonder.
That's a good point. Yeah, nice stat there. I love my statistics, but yeah, Paige, a redshirt junior, as she was injured the whole last year. So if she decided to come back next year, she has that possibility because she would be technically a senior for next year. But I definitely do think Aaliyah and Nika are probably the other big two, if you will, alongside Paige Beckers. And I think obviously when you talk about the starting five or either even those three players alone, they're really talented enough to kind of carry the whole team or carry a pretty good load for this team. And that there's a lot of minutes to go around. It's a really talented team, so I think it's going to be tough to spread those minutes around. But it's a talented enough team to definitely make another run at the national championship. Like we've said every single year, I think UConn's always going to have the talent level is always going to be there to obviously make March Madness and be able to make a run at the national championship. But it's just a couple of things that need to fall their way, and you can never have too much luck on your side. And I'd say UConn has been pretty unlucky the past 2 years. So hopefully this season we get a little luck on our side and a couple things to go the UConn Huskies way. And I'm pretty confident that they can make a shot at the Natty this season.
I love this here, Ryan. Listen to this. Don't let the sun go down without saying thank you to someone and without admitting to yourself that absolutely no one gets this far alone. Ryan, you know what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking about. We love you guys so much. Ryan, I will see you possibly, maybe. We're always saying maybe, right? Maybe. How about I quote the great, don't even get me started, the great Marshawn Lynch, huh? Go ahead and say it, Ryan. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Ryan, I'll see you later.